James and Emily were a happy couple from Nevada who loved spending time outdoors. They were young, full of life, and always looking for the next adventure. One sunny morning in early spring, they decided to hike in Red Rock Canyon. The area was known for its beautiful views, bright red cliffs, and winding desert trails. James, who worked as a fitness coach, had always loved the peacefulness of the desert. Emily, a school teacher, had recently started maternity leave. She was 7 months pregnant, and though hiking was a bit harder now, she still enjoyed being out in nature. That day, they planned to take a short loop trail, take a few photos, and be back before lunch. They packed light, just water bottles, trail snacks, and Emily's phone for pictures. They parked their car at the visitor lot around 9 a.m. and waved to another couple who were also heading out. James helped Emily adjust her backpack, and they laughed about how hot the sun was already getting. Emily wore a red tank top and black leggings, while James wore a blue shirt and shorts. They looked like any happy couple enjoying a day out in the desert. The path they chose was not one of the main trails, but James had read about it online. It was called Cactus Ridge Trail, a narrow loop that went behind a rock formation and reconnected to the main path. He told Emily it would be quieter and more scenic. As they made their way into the rocky landscape, the trail began to get rougher. The ground was uneven and scattered with loose stones. Emily was careful with each step, holding James's hand for balance. They stopped a few times to rest in the shade of large red rocks. Emily drank plenty of water, and James kept checking the GPS on his phone. They laughed about baby names, talked about the nursery they were decorating at home, and even took a photo together on a wide, flat boulder with the mountains in the background. It would be the last photo anyone would ever see of them. Hours passed, and by the afternoon, the desert sun grew more intense. Other hikers returned to the parking lot, but James and Emily didn't come back. At first, no one noticed. It wasn't until late evening when Emily's sister, Anna, called her phone and got no answer that concern started to grow. She called James too, but his phone went straight to voicemail. When neither of them returned home that night, Anna reported them missing. Rangers at Red Rock Canyon immediately started a search the next morning. Their car was still in the lot, locked and untouched. That confirmed they had never come back from their hike. Search teams, helicopters, dogs, and volunteers scoured the trail for days. The desert was wide and unforgiving, with many hidden spots where someone could get lost. But despite all efforts, there was no sign of James or Emily. Not a water bottle, not a shoe print, not even a drop phone. It was like they had vanished into the rocks. The photo Emily had posted on her social media around noon was the last clue, the smiling couple against the canyon backdrop. GPS from their phone stopped working shortly after that time, likely due to poor signal or battery loss. Weeks passed, then months, and finally years. The case remained unsolved. People whispered theories. Maybe they got lost, maybe they fell, maybe someone had done something terrible to them. But without any evidence, the investigation hit a wall. Emily's family held a memorial for her and the unborn child. James's parents still believed he had tried to protect her. Anna never stopped hoping for answers. She visited Red Rock every year on the same date, leaving flowers at the trailhead and whispering to the wind, "Please come home." And then, for years later, something unexpected happened, something that would change everything. For years later, Red Rock Canyon still attracted hikers, tourists, and runners from all over the country. The sun still shined down on the red stone cliffs, and the desert wind still moved quietly through the dry brush and scattered cacti. But the mystery of James and Emily remained. People still talked about it. Some visitors would walk past the trail where they were last seen and pause for a moment, trying to imagine what had gone wrong. Others took a different path altogether, feeling a chill just thinking about how a young couple could disappear without a single trace. It had become one of the canyon's most well-known and heartbreaking mysteries. But no one expected the truth to come out in such a strange and sudden way. On a hot morning in June, a man named Tyler was jogging on a little-used trail near the far edge of Red Rock Canyon. Tyler had recently moved to Nevada from Arizona and had taken up trail running to stay in shape and enjoy the desert landscape. He preferred quiet paths with fewer people, and often ran while listening to music or the sound of nature. That day, he brought only a small water pack and his phone. About an hour into his run, he stopped to take a short break. He stood near a cluster of rocks to catch his breath, wiping sweat from his forehead. As he looked around, something strange caught his eye lying in the dirt beside a bush. At first, he thought it was a piece of twisted metal or maybe a piece of an old hiking pole. But as he leaned down and brushed off some dirt, his stomach dropped. What he had found wasn't a stick or metal scrap. It was a human bone. But not just any bone. This one had something shocking about it. Attached to the bone was a metal surgical plate with small screws still holding parts of it together. It looked like something a doctor might have put in during a surgery. Tyler froze, unsure what to do at first. The area was so quiet, so peaceful, but now it felt like something dark had just been uncovered. He quickly took a photo of the bone and marked the spot on his GPS. Then he ran back toward the ranger station as fast as he could. When he arrived, he told them everything and showed the photo. The rangers immediately called the local sheriff department, and soon a small search team was sent to the location Tyler had marked. They moved carefully, scanning the area around the bushes and rocks. Not far from where Tyler had made his discovery, they found more bones, partially buried by sand and time. Bits of clothing were also found, faded and sun-bleached but still recognizable. A red tank top, a black legging, and nearby, they found a crushed blue water bottle. Investigators quickly worked to match the surgical plate to medical records. They didn't have to search long. Emily had once broken her leg in college and had a metal plate installed as part of her recovery. When the dental records came in a few days later, it was confirmed the bones belonged to Emily. And further down the slope, after a more careful search, more remains were found. These were identified as James. The news broke fast. After 4 long years, the missing couple had been found. The desert had kept them hidden all this time, until the wind shifted the sand just enough for someone to notice. The discovery shocked everyone. Reporters returned to Red Rock Canyon. Emily's family cried when they got the call from the police. Anna sat in silence, her hands trembling as she looked at the picture of the metal bone piece found by Tyler. The pain of losing her sister and unborn niece came rushing back. But so did a strange kind of peace. They weren't lost anymore. They were found. Now the question was no longer where James and Emily had gone. The question now was what had really happened to them that day, and why they had never made it back from a hike. After the remains of James and Emily were found, the investigation restarted with new energy. Detectives, park rangers, and forensic experts worked together to piece together the final hours of the couple's lives. They carefully mapped out the area where the bones had been discovered. It was a remote spot, far from any main trail, and not even marked on park maps. The terrain was rocky, with many narrow paths and steep drop-offs. There were signs that a small landslide had occurred there in the past. Loose gravel, shifted boulders, and deep cracks in the earth. It became clear that James and Emily had wandered off the main trail and into a dangerous section of the canyon. Detectives reviewed the photos from Emily's phone, which was recovered near the bodies, though damaged from years in sun. The memory card inside was still usable. On it were the final pictures they had taken, selfies of the two smiling, the landscape behind them, and a few short video clips. In one video, Emily laughed as she pointed at a rock shaped like a heart. James, behind the camera, joked that they should take a shortcut through the rocks to save time. That small decision may have been the start of their trouble. Investigators believe they took that shortcut, thinking it would reconnect with the main path, but instead, it led them deeper into unfamiliar terrain. As they walked, the rocky ground may have shifted beneath them. Marks found near the discovery site suggested that James may have slipped on the edge of a slope, and Emily tried to help him. One of the larger rocks nearby had a dark mark on it that could have come from a heavy impact. Experts think James might have fallen first, hitting his head or injuring his leg, which made it impossible for him to climb back up. Emily, being 7 months pregnant, couldn't carry him or climb for help herself. With no cell signal and the sun beginning to set, they were trapped in the canyon. Emily's backpack had been found crushed under a rock. Inside were 2 empty water bottles, a granola wrapper, and a small notebook. The notebook held several pages of handwritten notes. The writing was shaky and emotional, but it gave a heartbreaking look into their final moments. One note said, "We got lost. James hurt. Trying to stay warm. Baby is moving. Don't know what to do." Another read, "I love my family. If anyone finds this, please tell them we tried." Emily had even written down names of the baby. Lila if it was a girl, Caleb if it was a boy. The last message simply said, "We are together. Please don't forget us." The discovery of the notebook touched everyone who read it. News stations all over the country shared the story. People who had never even met James or Emily cried while watching the reports. A small memorial was set up near the spot where they were found. Hikers left flowers, baby toys, and messages of love. Park rangers placed a wooden bench there with a plaque that read, "In memory of James, Emily, and baby, forever together in the canyon." The site became a place of quiet reflection for visitors, a reminder of how quickly nature can change a peaceful moment into something tragic. Emily's sister, Anna, visited the site a few weeks after the discovery. She sat on the bench in silence, tears falling down her cheeks as she held a copy of the notebook pages in her hands. Though the pain was deep, there was comfort in knowing what had happened and that her sister didn't die alone. James had stayed with her until the very end. Their love, their bond, had remained strong even in their final days. And now, even in death, they had been found side by side. The desert had finally given up its secret. But there was still one more thing to uncover. How did no one find them earlier, and could something have been done differently to save them? After the remains were returned to the family and the canyon quieted down again, investigators continued searching for answers. People everywhere were still asking the same question. How could two people just vanish for 4 years in a park visited by hundreds of people every week? The area where James and Emily were found wasn't far from the old trail. Some parts were steep and hard to climb, but experienced hikers sometimes wandered there. So how was it possible that no one had come across them sooner? The answer turned out to be a mix of nature, timing, and a few missed chances. One ranger explained that the part of the canyon where they were found was covered by rockfall every few years. Heavy rains or shifting ground would cause rocks and dirt to slide down and bury parts of the lower paths. If James and Emily had fallen during such a time, the evidence of their accident could have been quickly hidden by loose debris. And since the trail they left wasn't official or marked, search teams never spent much time looking there. Back when they disappeared, the rescue crews had focused on the main paths, caves, and the flat open areas, never guessing that the couple had tried to take a shortcut through the rocks. Even the dogs used in the search had been blocked by the rocky terrain. With time, the wind and sun erased footprints, and any signs of their trail faded away. In the end, their remains were just a few hundred feet from a common running path, but a patch of high rocks and thorny bushes had kept them out of sight for years. Tyler's jog, on a day when the wind had recently moved the sand and the sun hit the metal just right, was a moment of pure chance. If he had taken a different path that morning, it might have taken another year or longer for anyone to find them. Anna, Emily's sister, decided to help others by speaking about what had happened. She shared their story with news stations, hiking groups, and safety organizations. She talked about how quickly things can go wrong on a hike and how important it is to stick to marked trails. She helped raise money for new signs and safety maps for Red Rock Canyon, with help from others. The park added more warnings, better markers, and even placed cameras and emergency call boxes at key spots. Emily's story, though sad, was now helping protect other families. James's parents created a foundation in their son's name. The James and Emily Fund provided free GPS trackers to hikers and trained rescue dogs for national parks. The fund grew quickly, with support pouring in from across the country. Hikers, parents, and even strangers sent in donations. Everyone who heard their story felt the same mix of heartbreak and hope. Their love had lasted through fear, pain, and time. And now, their memory would guide others. The canyon slowly returned to its normal rhythm. Hikers walked past a memorial bench and often paused, touching the plaque gently before continuing their journey. Some left flowers. Others said a quiet prayer. And sometimes a child would ask about the baby and the couple. Parents would explain that a brave mom and dad had once stood in that very spot, full of dreams and love. Though they were gone, their story would never be forgotten. As for Tyler, the jogger who made the discovery, he kept running. But now, every time he passed that section of the trail, he slowed down. He would glance at the red rocks at the bench and think about how a simple morning jog changed everything. He stayed in touch with Anna and even spoke at one of the safety events. He said he wasn't a hero, just a man in the right place at the right time. But everyone who knew the story agreed. Without him, James and Emily might have remained lost forever. Their story ended in silence, deep in a canyon under the sun, but the echoes of their love reached far beyond those rocks. It reminded people to hold on to each other, to stay safe, and to never forget those who wander off the path, not just in the wild, but in life. James, Emily, and their unborn child would always be remembered, not for how they were lost, but for how they were found.